Hello everyone, back tuning in to today's video. We're doing JMA Friday. As always on a Friday, we're having a look at the weather for the coming month across the British Isles. And this will take us into the second half of January. So we had a lot of very mild weather since the beginning of December. We had a cold November, but around the turn of the month, the weather changed, been pretty mild. And it's culminating at the moment in quite a stormy spell of weather today. It turned stormy and very mild again. The northern part of the country, stormy, very mild for all of us again on Christmas Day. And then after that, we'll go back into a quieter spell running up towards the new year, I think, with high pressure more in control. Meaning it's cooler. It's not going to be desperately cold, but it will be cooler after Christmas. And I think we expect some frost and fog, particularly so down in the south. We'll see what's going to happen beyond that in terms of what the Japanese CFS V2 models are forecasting in a moment for the first half of January. Also have a look at what's happening with Storm Barbara, but before I get on with that, just to say about the ads, this links to articles on all pages. Have a browse through widgets and click through links. If there's any articles that you're interested in helping us to pay, website, thanks very much to JMA. It's also video ads, both pages, which own content. When you watch a close book up again, does help to pay for gas weathers. So this is the current radar picture from theweatheroutlook.com, and you can see that there's loads of rain up in the north, really wet picture up there through Scotland, Northern Ireland and Northern England, also coming down in towards North Wales now. Further south and east, it's mostly dry at the moment. The wind's also getting up in the north. These are the latest wind arrows showing that winds are strengthening now across the country. And I think we expect strong winds for all of us. Down in the southeast, we could get gusts of wind going around 40 miles an hour, but it's really in the north and the northwest that we've got the worst of the weather today. So Northern Ireland, Northern England, southern Scotland could well have gusts of wind going up to 60 miles an hour. And further north of that, I think could be going up to 80 miles an hour today, which is easily possible to do structural damage and cause a bit of disruption. Going to be a lot of people travelling around today, of course. The Christmas getaway is today, so not very pleasant conditions for travelling around. Even in the southeast, there will be a spell of quite wet and windy weather this afternoon and into this evening, so not great for travellers. We don't issue severe weather warnings at Gas Weathers because we're not qualified to do that, but we do link to the UK Met Office, have a weather alerts section that links to the UK Met Office weather warnings. These are the official warnings from the UK Met Office. There's a raft of warnings in force for today. For the wind, particularly, so that's particularly for the north, we've got this orange area forecasting very disruptive winds for the northwest. Also, there's warnings in force for the north for snow and ice tonight, because as the rain and wind clears away, tonight's going to turn a lot colder. Temperatures will drop, and there could well be some snow and ice in the far north and west of Scotland tonight. If you are travelling around and you need to know about the warnings, then do check out web warnings from the UK Met Office. That's the place to go if you need advice while you are planning your journey. But essentially, there is going to be disruptive weather around today, courtesy of Barbara. Well, this is the 500 millimeter height anomaly flowchart from the JMA. That's where we're going to start. These are broken down into weekly periods. The first week period will take us from the 23rd through to the 30th of December. Blue extrapolates to low pressure, and orange, yellow and red will be extrapolating to high pressure. So for the coming week, we've got the trough of low pressure in the Atlantic. There it is. We've got the ridge down to the south, which is strengthening and pushing northwards. So essentially, we're starting off quite unsettled, courtesy of that trough. Barbara associated with that, of course. And over time, we're shifting to a more anticyclonic pattern after Christmas. Will be settling down, also turning quite chilly with there's frost and fog in particular down in the south. Week 2, which is the 30th of December through to the 6th of January, shows that ridge continuing to strengthen over and just to the east of the country. The trough is up in the northwest of the Atlantic, and the jet stream is doing something like that. It means that the true Arctic winter weather is going down the eastern side of Europe into West Russia, also into southeastern Europe as well. This ridge is keeping central and western parts of Europe largely dry. The model will say this is going to be a mild week, but of course under that ridge, the surface could be getting cold with frost and fog. It isn't able to see that. So whilst the model will be forecasting a very mild week, I suspect, actually it could be quite a bit colder under frost and fog. But the true Arctic conditions, they're going down onto the eastern side of Europe. And then we go through into weeks 3 and 4, which takes us from the 6th through 20th of January. Again, trough is in the Atlantic. The ridge is through the Atlantic, going into the UK and into Central Europe as well. The jet stream is doing something like that. So, there's a lot of dry weather, really. It could be a remarkably dry spell. It's been a dry December, and it looks like this is going on into January also. And just very quiet conditions, really. Not very exciting at all there as we're going through into January. No sign of anything desperately cold coming up, that's for sure. Having a look at the temperature and precipitation anomalies for the next week. So we're going to start off with the 23rd through to the 30th. That's a reminder of the height anomaly, the British Isles in the top right hand corner of the chart as you're looking at it, of course. Got the ridge down to the south, got the trough up to the northwest, and the jet stream comes through rather like that. So the model is suggesting a fairly dry week down in the south, but a wetter week up in the north. Remember, this is transitional, so at the moment, taking into account it's very unsettled. After Christmas, it does get a lot drier. With the temperature anomaly for the coming week, that's coming out significantly milder than average as well. I expect it to turn a bit cooler after Christmas. This is how the temperatures are looking for week 2, which is going into the new year. That's the 30th through to the 6th of January. Again, milder than average, but bear in mind this is very anticyclonic week, so down on the surface, if we're radiating heat out quickly, we could get frost and fog. The model won't be able to see that. The precipitation anomaly for the next week is coming out, or for the following week, should say week 2, is coming out slightly wetter than average for far north Scotland, but most places actually on the drier side. And then we go through to weeks 3 and weeks 4, which is this chart just here. And that's going to be, again, having the ridge down to the south in the Atlantic, going to the south of us, and then we've got the trough up to the north, jet stream going like that. Not a very exciting week at all, but the precipitation anomaly for those 2 weeks shows it's wetter than average in the north, drier than average down to the south, and I suspect the temperature anomaly is going to be milder than average. That's generally what it's suggesting. It's a bit cooler for England and Wales, but it's warmer than average for Scotland and probably for Northern Ireland as well. So the JMA is suggesting quite a mild start to 2017. Let's see how the CFS is viewing things. Again, these are 500 millibar heights broken down into week periods. The first week period takes from 23rd through to 29th of December. Very much in line with the JMA for this week. We've got the trough up to the northwest with low pressure up there, the ridges down to the south, and the jet stream's going like that. So we start off unsettled. After Christmas, the ridge builds up and it settles down quite a lot. Week 2, which is the 30th of December through to the 5th of January. This one shows the ridge very much over and just to the east of the country, also extends into the Atlantic as well. So that looks very settled for the start of January, with the jet stream doing something like that. There could certainly be frost and fog in with that, I would have thought. And then a bit of a change as we go through to week 3. This is the 6th through to the 12th of January. What this is doing, it's taking the heights out into the middle of the Atlantic, and it's developing this area of low pressure up to the northwest. It sends the flow and the jet stream rather like that, so it looks more unsettled there through early January. And probably a bit colder as well, because I think the flow will probably be on a northwest-southeast trajectory, doing something like that, or certainly with the jet stream. So for the north, that could be turning a bit colder. And then we go through to week 4, and it's all changed again from the 13th through to the 19th of January. We set up the above average heights to the north of the country. Quite a strong signal for northern blocking there. The flow is going rather like that. We're almost being placed onto the cold side of things, and if that came off, I think we probably would start to pull the air in from the north or the northeast actually. So that could be a lot colder through the middle part of January. It's week 4, it's a long way off, it's not to be relied upon, but the model does suggest for mid-January I think it could turn a lot colder. The temperature anomalies from the CFS V2 showing that for the coming week we're milder than average through the Christmas period. Again, it is transitional, so starting off very mild, a bit cooler after Christmas. Week 2 going into the new year also looks quite mild as well. Week 3, which is the 6th to 12th of January, that's when the more unsettled Atlantic stuff is coming through. That's still a bit milder on average, but not as big a deviation. It does turn a bit cooler then. And then week 4, probably can't make it out all that well, but for England and Wales especially, it's a little bit colder than average. I think the model is shifting in January into something colder, especially by the middle part of the month. JMA doesn't really see it though. And then the precipitation for the coming week, it's dry and average in the south, a bit wetter than average up in the north. Week 2, which is when the ridge is through the country at the end of December into January, that's coming out significantly drier than average for nearly all places. Week 3 is near normal with the precipitation. I think that will be a more unsettled week. Rainfall will go above average with the jet stream coming back. And then week 4, again, very weak signals, as they always are, really, for precipitation, for these week 3, week 4 anomalies. But week 4, more or less hinting at being a bit drier than average, which you would expect if it's turning colder. So the idea from the JMA is just to keep things generally quiet and fairly mild, really, for the next month. The CFS is more interesting. It starts off in agreement with the JMA, so lots of quiet weather in towards the new year, and then it's turning things more unsettled and then colder by the time we go through to the middle part of January. Now, we may not have to wait until the middle of January for any cold weather, because I'm just going to leave you with the midnight run of the GFS, which this morning wants to turn things cold for the new year. So this is New Year's Eve, when we've got a fairly mild westerly flow across the country, but we go through to New Year's Day and then on to the 2nd of January. Look at this, we've turned the winds properly into the north, and we've set up quite a big blocking feature around Greenland and Iceland, with a real northerly coming down across the country. That would be very cold. It would be enough to bring snow, particularly to the northeast, and that continues through to the 3rd of January as well on the midnight run of the GFS, with the wind coming in from the northeast and this low pressure probably providing the energy for snow. Now, that's not all that well supported at the moment from the other models. Some of the other models do want to bring a colder snap, but the GFS is going to town with it, or at least it did on the midnight run, building that ridge over Greenland and Iceland. It might be that it's going over the top with it. We're going to have to wait and see how things settle down over the next few days. Tonight, if I've got time, I might do a roundup with the GFS ensembles, go for each ensemble member through the early part of January, see how many are supporting this idea of the colder period, colder interlude, in early January. So that'll be with you tonight, potentially. Right, that's all for now. Tomorrow we've got the weekend forecast, as always on a Saturday. It's Christmas Eve, so it's going to cover the whole of the Christmas week. And then, of course, on Christmas Day, it's the historic extravaganza with a trilogy of videos looking at the whole year of 1879. That'll be with you on Christmas Day. Tonight, potentially, we'll be looking at the GFS ensembles, see if it's going to turn colder in early January. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.